telling Dana, I was trying to think of father and son teams. I go back to the Cassavetes, a couple other people like that, but no one has the track record like you guys have. Not only do I personally like all your films and your son's films, no one, in my opinion, has come up to what you guys have done and been able to achieve, and that's a huge, in my point of view, compliment of what you guys came up with.
Oh, well, thank you.
When you think back to when you were first doing Endless Summer, which I loved, and I'm not even a surfer, and I loved that, creating that, and then going on to your other last film on that, how did you prepare for stuff? How, because it wasn't easy. It couldn't have been easy back then to do that stuff.
No, the first film I did in '58 with Dale Belzy put $5,000 up, which he was a surfboard manufacturer, which bought the cameras, all the travel, and my living expenses for a year. That was the total budget for the movie, and it kind of about broke even. And I thought, well, and I didn't know anything about making movies, so it was just a story about 5 guys going to Hawaii to surf, and with $100 in their pocket and living for 3 months, But then one thing led to the next, and Endless Summer was the last one I did. And it was going to be that was going to be the end of it. I mean, I figured it was 5 or 6 surf films, and I thought well, if what I read in the paper was true, that I was rich, why would I want to work anymore? Why just go surfing? So that was my theory for a couple of years, and then I got interested in motorcycles, and that led to On a Sunday.
You think being in the military helped you prepare for what you were about to do as far as putting a film together? And then eventually, coming to meet, Steve McQueen coming out of my hometown of Connecticut, which was interesting. You think that helped for all the stuff that you were able to achieve?
The military?
Yeah.
Boy, I was so young and so dumb, and I hated it because it interfered with my surfing. It probably helped in the sense that now I'm my own boss. I can nobody's telling me do this, do that, do this, do that. So probably in that way it helped me, and also glad to be out. I mean the whole motivation for, first of all, you're going to get drafted at that time, and I read in the Reader's Digest that if you went to sub school and were the top 10% of your class, you could choose your coast. And if you're the top guy, you could choose your submarine. So I thought, aha, I'll be the top guy, and so I'll choose a submarine in Hawaii. So when I was the head guy in the class, so I go to Hawaii and meet the admiral, and so happy to have you, in the fleet here, and he's showing me all the subs. I could take my pick, and he pointed out this one called the Gudgeon, and he was telling me this was going to the ice cap, this was doing that, and what about that one? Oh, it's going to be in the shipyard for 6 months. And I went, I like that one. So the first couple of days, it's like you got off at 1, and I go to Waikiki and go surfing, and it was just like I was in paradise. And then they figured me out and started putting me on mess cooking, which is like 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, washing dishes and peeling potatoes and stuff. But it was a great time. I mean, I ended up renting a little place called Froome's Rooms, right half a block from Queen Surf at Waikiki for like $25 a month. And you could go to the Sampan Inn and down by the docks have a stack of pancakes for 25 cents. And there was a place called Marusen's where you got a big old steak for $1. It was pretty thin, but I mean, so it was like Hawaii at the time was a magic place. That was before there was even statehood, so I just loved it over there.
I saw a documentary, wasn't this year, it was last year, on the most famous Hawaiian surfer, and I can't remember his name right now, and you may know it. But he was good before the Australians started coming over. I think it was like between 68 and 72. And then they started doing, was it like 69, I think, or maybe 68, the first surfing competitions then?
Oh no, it was like in the early '60s, and you know the most famous Hawaiian surfer was Duke Onomoko. Yeah.
Yep.
But that was in the '20s.
Yeah. He's after that. He's like, I want to say he's 62, 64, and no one really knew who he was, but the locals knew he was good. And some of the people coming from Australia, or like in the early '70s, kind of recognized who he was, but he would never win that big huge surfing competition there. I want to say his name was Eddie. His first name was
Oh, Eddie Aikau.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 And that, did you know him at all?
Yeah. And his dad.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because his dad, when we'd be shooting like Waimea, his dad would come up, make sure you get a shot of Eddie, and but he ended up drowning.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a story on him. It was really interesting, and I thought it was wow. So I started telling people about that documentary.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was he tried to swim ashore from a disabled catamaran.
Yeah.
And all those Hawaiian, you had on the North Shore, you had Henry Priest, who was like the unofficial mayor of Haleiwa, and then Buffalo on the west side, Makaha. And if those guys were your pal and they put the word out, you totally got left alone, by any of the locals that might not like howlies. But and we went over to Hawaii, 2 or 3 years ago, and met up with Henry, who was ill, and he's going. They have a bench at Haleiwa that they built for him, and so he goes, Bruce, I stopped drinking. I no drink no more, and I go, oh, good. So we end up going to what used to be a Seaview Inn, and of course he starts drinking and got drunk, but then my daughter, I got to show you this because it's unbelievable. She was over there a couple months after Henry passed away, and she went down to Haleiwa by his bench and sent me this. How do I work this thing?
She sent you a nice photo.
Yeah, and that's not Photoshop.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That was that's his bench in the. Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing. It's interesting. Some of the best photos I've had of the ocean were just natural. You don't have to Photoshop or do anything. It's just beautiful. And they're like, "What did you do?" I'm like, "Nothing. That's just what it looks like."
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I said, Nancy, did you fake that rainbow or something? No. Went down there, and that was what it was.
What do you think of your son? If you were to describe your son to people that don't know him and the films, the great films that he's made, how would you tell them? What would you say?
He's my favorite filmmaker.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
What would get the audience to come see this movie?
What'll get the audience to come and see it?
Yeah.
It's entertaining. And, which is the purpose of making a movie is to entertain the audience, right?
Absolutely.
And not lecture them or, play down to them. Just, entertain them.
You know what I told Dana? I said this movie is entertaining, it's enthusiastic, it's engaging, and it's emotional. And I call it the 4 E's. And that's the best movie that you can make. It's got to have those things.
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you.
Appreciate it.